We are the painters of our world. We are creators. We decide what goes.
Welcome to Educate Elevate, the podcast that shares stories of hope, opportunity, and transformation from across California's community colleges. I'm your host, Danny Morrison. As students across California prepare for the fall semester, there's one date you absolutely need to know: September 2nd. That's the deadline for California community college students to submit a FAFSA or California Dream Act application to be eligible for a Cal grant in the 2026-2027 academic year. Every year, thousands of students miss out on aid simply because they assume they won't qualify, believe the process will be too complicated, or don't realize how much support is available. The reality is that financial aid can help make a life-changing difference. It can help cover not only tuition and fees, but also everyday expenses like books, transportation, childcare, food, housing, and technology, making it easier for students to focus on learning and achieving their goals. That's why we're bringing back one of our most impactful conversations from last season. In this special encore episode, you'll hear from financial aid expert Gina Browne from the California Community College's Chancellor's office, along with former Folsom Lake College student Trajan Robinson, who shares how financial aid helped him stay focused on his education and continue his journey to UC Berkeley. Their insights are just as relevant today as when we first shared them, because applying for financial aid isn't just about paying for college. It's about opening doors, reducing barriers, and creating opportunities for your future. So if college is a part of your plan this fall, you need to hear exactly what they have to say. Check it out. Our first guest is Gina Browne. Gina is Assistant Vice Chancellor for Programs and Strategic Operations at the California Community College's Chancellor's office. Gina, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, that's a big and impressive title. That's a mouthful for sure. Let's start by you sharing your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I've been in higher education for over 20 years, but it was a long journey to get here. My own education journey, I think, is what really landed me here. I was a student at the community colleges back in the early 90s, and I was not successful at all. I did not have the financial support, the emotional support. I was housing insecure for some time. So I chose to work, and I stopped going to college altogether. And then I got a full-time job. One day I was working. I used to work for a company called EdFund. Representatives from CSU Sacramento came and saw us, and they were offering a program for working adults where they would give us credit for prior learning. And so I was like, why not? Let me try it. And so they were offering me 30 units of credit for prior learning for all of my previous work experience. So that shaved a whole year off of my bachelor's degree. And I was 30 years old at the time. So I didn't get my degree till I was 30. But then I realized that it was so important to have people to guide and to give advice and to help those who are struggling to get a college degree. And I knew that was something that I would be very good at because there would be so many people who need it like I did. I graduated, I said at 30, I got my bachelor's degree in education. And then I went on to work at a community college in the Bay Area. And then while I was there, I got my master's degree in education counseling from San Jose State University. Moved back to Sacramento, and then I got a job at the community college chancellor's office, doing what I do.
Now, there's a lot of perceived barriers for students considering higher education, and the cost and fear of going into debt are at the top of the list. What do you say to that?
I say that you cannot let fear keep you from trying to achieve your college dreams. Financial aid is available to help overcome the barriers and help ease those fears. There's all kinds of helps available to students financially that can help them pay for the cost of going to college, books, supplies, housing, and everything like that. But the only way that you can overcome those barriers and overcome the fears is to learn what's available for you. And the way you learn what's available is by applying for financial aid every year. And in terms of the barriers, our community colleges have so many levels of support. There's housing support, mental health support, tutoring. There could be transportation support. So there are barriers, but there are built-in mechanisms to help students overcome those barriers.
So some of our viewers and listeners may have heard of FAFSA, CADAA, but can you break it down for us? What are these forms? Why are they important? And how are they different?
Sure. So we've got FAFSA and CADAA, or California Dream Act application. And what they are the applications to get financial aid. So that's what they are, number one. FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, is for students who have Social Security numbers or they are permanent residents. And then the CADAA, or Dream Act application, is for our undocumented students. So basically, they're the applications. Students fill them out so they can see how much financial aid they're eligible for every year.
Some people think financial aid is only for low-income students interested in going to college. Many self-disqualify for various reasons, such as thinking they may make too much money for completing the forms, too difficult, et cetera, et cetera. What do you say to that?
I say never tell yourself no in any situation, right? So you never disqualify yourself, especially for financial aid. The only way you'll know if you're eligible is if you apply. There are some forms of financial aid for the lower incomes, and those are things like the Pell Grant or the Cal Grant. But there's so much financial aid available that is not financially need-based. There's work study, there's scholarships, there are even loans. But the only way to find out what you're eligible for is to apply.
Now, there's one date that keeps popping up over and over throughout this podcast, and that is September 2nd, September 2nd, September 2nd. Why is this deadline so important, specifically for community college students?
September 2nd is the deadline for the Cal Grant Community College Entitlement Award. And the most important part of that is entitlement. That means if you are eligible and you apply, you get it. Right? So that's why September 2nd is super important. That also opens up all other federal financial aid, including those work study and loans. It's also many scholarships also require students to complete the FAFSA. They may not be by September 2nd, but why not do it by September 2nd to see for maximum eligibility?
Now, you mentioned the FAFSA. What information is needed to complete the FAFSA?
For the FAFSA, you're going to need your Social Security number. And if you're a dependent student, you're going to need information about your parents. But you're going to also need financial information, household income, household size. And then you also need to know the schools that you're interested in attending. The same thing for the Dream Act application as well, except for there's no Social Security number, but you still do have to provide information about your parents and the financial information.
So I heard the FAFSA is now easier than it was before. What's new, what's different, and what can students expect?
Sure. Let me just, for a little bit of context, back when I was doing the FAFSA in the 90s, it was well over 100 questions. Today, it's down to about 30 to 36 per student. So it's way easier, way fewer questions. What's different is the questions are more directed to students. So students don't have to answer every single question. They're only going to have to answer the questions that are relevant to their situation. And then once they submit the application, they will hear directly from federal student aid. They're the ones who process the application. And that information will be sent to their colleges that they listed. And then they'll be contacted by their colleges for more information.
So what are the most common mistakes students make when filling out the FAFSA, and how can these mistakes be avoided?
Sure. So a couple of the mistakes are they don't actually submit the application. So throughout the application, it'll allow you to save, but you got to hit that submit button at the end. So you got to make sure you do that. Many times the students will not list their parents' information if they're a dependent student, or they just kind of read through the questions too quickly. So while the application is shorter, you still need to make sure you take your time, read the questions, and then answer them the best you can. Now, if there's any time where the student is not sure what to do or they're afraid of making a mistake, there's so much help available to help students complete the FAFSA. They can go to the college that they think they may attend to ask for help. There's a help desk line for the FAFSA. So many resources on the FAFSA website that they can rely on for help to avoid making the mistakes.
For dreamers thinking about completing the CADAA, who receives this information, and should students be concerned?
While I can't decide what level of concern students have, that is a personal level of threshold, their concern, I can tell you that only the California Student Aid Commission and the college that they list on their applications receive their information. It is not shared with anyone outside of California Student Aid Commission and the college. So students can be assured of that.
My understanding is that Dreamers or AB 540 students need to complete the CADAA instead of the FAFSA because they are not eligible to receive federal financial aid. Can you also talk a little bit about why it is so important for these students to complete their application by September 2nd?
Sure. While they may not be eligible for federal financial aid, they are eligible for the Cal Grant Community College Entitlement Grant, and that does have that September 2nd deadline. And that opens up the Cal Grant for undocumented students the same as any other student.
You know, I, like a lot of people, when I hear financial aid, I think tuition. But is there more to financial aid?
Oh my goodness, yes. So financial aid can help students pay for books and supplies, things like a laptop. Maybe they need help with transportation. They can make their car payment with financial aid. They can use financial aid to help them pay the rent. Now, there are other forms of financial aid more than just like direct dollars. Most colleges offer assistance with transportation, childcare, health services, mental health services, tutoring. Many of our colleges have food pantries. So there are so many ways of support for students that is bigger than just financial aid.
So other than visiting a financial aid office, are there any other avenues one could take to get financial aid?
Absolutely. The California Student Aid Commission offers free Cash for College workshops where they will walk students step by step on how to complete the FAFSA. For more information, students can go to the icangotocollege.com website to find a workshop near them.
So we keep talking about September 2nd, September 2nd, September 2nd. What happens if a student misses that deadline?
The good news is financial aid is available year-round. The September 2nd deadline is important for students to be able to maximize the amount of aid they can get. But things like scholarships and institutional aid are available all year.
All right, let's bring it on home. Let's sum it all up once again. Who needs to submit a FAFSA?
Any student who's even thinking about going to college.
What do students need to complete it?
They need to have their financial information for themselves and their parents if they're dependent students, and they need to know which colleges they want to attend. They can go to the icangotocollege.com website to get direct access to the applications. They'll also receive information about the types of financial aid that are available and also get connected to colleges.
What's the deadline? And importantly, where can students go to get help?
The deadline is September 2nd. They can go to the I Can Go to College website, or they can go to their local financial aid office.
Gina Browne, on behalf of the California Community Colleges and the Educate Elevate podcast, thank you so much for your time today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Our next guest is Trajan Robinson. Trajan is currently studying legal studies and rhetoric at UC Berkeley as a first-year junior transfer from Folsom Lake College. Trajan, thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, Trajan, we're so happy to have you here. Let's start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was life like as a younger person and in high school?
Yeah, so I moved around a lot. Born in Los Angeles, moved to the Bay Area, and then did the rest of my community college in the Folsom Lake area. Attended pretty much every Los Rios Community College, but Folsom is where I did all my in-person classes. That's home. That's where I got my associates completed.
So when did you start thinking about college, and what concerns did you have about going?
Great question. I should have thought about it sooner, but junior year of high school.
So Trajan, in your own words, tell us why you think financial aid is so important to so many students.
So I think financial aid is important to so many students because many students don't know how they're going to afford college, and many students' parents don't either. And that expectation from parents is sometimes handed to students, and that becomes an ingrained belief about what they can do education-wise, and that becomes something about life potential and your own goals, your own self-actualization. So I think that's very important to a student's life. If you think you can't afford college, you most likely can, and you should apply and look at all the options that there are to get through college. There's so many options provided by the state. There's so many grants. There's so many scholarships. I used to think that, there wasn't that many, but there really are.
So when did you first hear about FAFSA and learn it opens doors to many different types of financial aid?
And the first time I learned about FAFSA was when I stepped onto a community college campus.
So did you complete the FAFSA before going to Folsom Lake College?
I did. I completed it with my mom. It's not always the funnest situation, but yes, I got it done. And I remember it.
So take us inside. What was the process like filling out the form?
So the form is much easier now. You go online, you create an account, and I believe that there is a parent account as well that meshes with your account. And then you just go through the steps. You list, how old you are, your birthday, address. Parents provide their income and, taxes at some point. And it's pretty straightforward. It's way easier today. I want to say when we get it done now, it's not more than an hour.
Right.
I don't remember spending an hour on it lately. I remember in the past when we first did it, when the website wasn't as new, we spent a little bit more time on it. And it was stressful, but I feel like it just gets easier every year. And that's no joke. So, yeah.
So did you get any help or you do it solo?
Solo with the family. I think that there's a lot of help that the community colleges do provide. And I wish I knew about that. And I think they advertise it so well now. I think so many individuals from whatever campus you're at, or even just from the system at large, to help you get that form done and get some money so you can pay for your education.
So for those watching or listening right now, what tips would you share on completing the FAFSA?
What tips would I share? Good question. Well, first of all, I'd say don't be afraid of it. It's just a form. It's just an application. It's not even on paper anymore, so it's not even a physical threat.
Ooh, yeah, well said.
So now it's all online. It's quite smooth. You can go through it pretty easily if your parents are busy, which many parents are. That is the nature of being a parent. It doesn't take too much time for them. So they can get through it pretty quickly. Yeah.
So what advice would you give others who think they don't qualify for financial aid, who are worried about getting the paperwork together and filling out the FAFSA?
If you're looking to receive a scholarship from your institution or from someone else, they typically send it to your school, your district, and they look to see if you applied for FAFSA. So if you're looking to get a scholarship, which I've had friends apply for outside scholarships, they send it to your school. And the one thing that they're looking for is if you applied for FAFSA. They're not looking for a certain criteria, it's just to make sure that you're a student and et cetera. So it's very important for you to see if you have money that's coming to you, which you possibly can, you most likely will. Or if you just want to see scholarships writ large, you need to have that FAFSA done.
So what advice would you give current and prospective community college students about submitting their FAFSA or CADAA by September 2nd?
I would say take a look at that website, and not only take a look, but sign up on that website. It's quite easy. It's quite quick. If you have any questions, reach out to the institution you're looking to attend. So whatever community college that is, they all have something dedicated to financial aid. And many of them have webinars. I know the system at large, the California Community College system, has lots of information about that. I can go to college.com. So much information that is so easy to type in. I can go to college.com. It's like an affirmation. So just type that in, and there's more than enough information to answer all questions that a student may have.
So Trajan, when people think financial aid, they usually think tuition, but it's so much more than that, isn't it?
It is so much more than that. These students have to feed themselves. Sometimes they're feeding families. There can be car payments in the mix. We live in California, so that's very real for a lot of students. So financial aid can assist students paying for those things. There are students that are food insecure, technology insecure. Financial aid can help students afford that. There are options at your local community college to apply for food benefits, SNAP or CalFresh. There are food pantries. I've worked on campus at a food pantry and given food out to students who needed food, who were food insecure, or even students that were housing insecure. There's so many things you can get at a community college that folks don't know about. And I just think it's important for students to know about that, because college is not only the cost of attending the college, like literally paying for tuition, but it is all of those life things. And many of those life things, there's support for that. That support exists. All of it starts for students by stopping by their financial aid office.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you don't even have to fill out physical pages to do the application anymore. There's an actual website that you can go to fill out the FAFSA. Where is that?
Yeah, so that is now on icangotocollege.com. That has access to the FAFSA on there. I think of that website as a one-stop shop for everything you need to get in a community college and some information for how you're going to get through if that is your path.
So Trajan, 5 years from now, where is Trajan?
5 years from now, that's a great question. I would have graduated with my law degree. From where is to be determined. I'm excited to apply next year. I'm currently in the process of studying for the LSAT. which is exciting. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time. Law school had always felt so far away, and now it's here.
So Trajan, on behalf of the California Community Colleges and the Educate Elevate podcast, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, I want to personally thank Gina Browne and Trajan Robinson for sharing their expertise and experiences. As you've heard today, financial aid can be the difference between putting your goals on hold or taking the next step toward your future. And while every student's journey is different, one thing is true for everyone. You won't know what's possible until you apply. So if you're planning to attend a California community college this fall, remember that the September 2nd deadline to submit your FAFSA or California Dream Act application is coming up quickly. Don't assume you won't qualify. Don't wait until the last minute, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Financial aid offices, counselors, and support teams are available on every California community college campus to guide you through the process and to answer your questions. To learn more, explore your options, and get started today, visit icangotocollege.com. Because you can achieve your goals, and California's community colleges are here to help you get there. Thanks for listening today. We'll see you next time. And remember, to educate is to elevate.
We are the painters of our world. We are creators. We decide what goes.